The UFC rankings are supposed to be the best fighters in the world. So today, in honor of Neil Magny getting knocked out of the rankings finally by Carlos Prates, we're going to talk about 10 fighters who do not deserve to be in the rankings. So let's get right into it. The first fighter, we got my boy Lionheart Anthony Smith. Listen, Anthony Smith is a staple in the light heavyweight division, but let's be real. This guy's absolutely cooked. 2-4 in his last 6. Doesn't have a single win over anyone ranked. And you already know his family's getting attacked in every single fight. So yeah, if we're looking at his last 2 wins in the last 2 or 3 years, we're looking at Vitor Petrino and Ryan Spann. And decent wins, I guess. He didn't look the best in the Ryan Spann rematch, and Ryan Spann is shown to have low fight IQ. And Vitor Petrino literally threw himself into a guillotine against Anthony Smith, which was crazy. He just got outdone on the feet by Roman Dolidze, one of the worst strikers at middleweight, who was up a weight class. Got destroyed by Khalil Roundtree, who almost put like a freaking hammer fist of the God on him, but held back and the fight got stopped. And then he got beat by Johnny Walker, which in hindsight was a terrible loss. He got destroyed by Magomed Ankalaev, and then went on to say Magomed Ankalaev wasn't as good as he thought he would be. Anthony Smith, it might just be the most delusional fighter on this list, but he needs to get booted out of the rankings at light heavyweight. I'm sorry, man. Like I said, the UFC's rankings are supposed to be the best fighters in the world, and I don't think Anthony Smith is one of the best fighters at light heavyweight in the world anymore. So get him out of there. He's number 12. He shouldn't be ranked, and he needs to fight some of these young and up-and-comers so they can take his spot because bro's cooked. He's 36. I think he needs to retire, and yeah, he hadn't been looking good. He's been looking pretty shit in his last few fights. So let's move on to the next fighter on this list that does not deserve to be in the rankings. We're talking Dan Ige. Now listen, a lot of people are going to think I'm hating on Dan Ige. I'm not. But, dude, we have to take the bias out that he's stepping up on short notice and saving UFC events. At the end of the day, the dude is 3-6 in his last 9. And the only thing you can respect about Dan Ige is that he's a warrior and he never gets finished. He's lost all by decision. Never been finished. But he has no ground game. And anytime he faces someone for a top 10 or top 15 ranking, he typically loses. Look at his wins. Andre Philly, Nate Landwehr, Damon Jackson. None of those guys are in the rankings or even can sniff the rankings. No offense, but they're just not good fighters. Anytime he's fought anyone decent, Lerone Murphy, Diego Lopez, Bryce Mitchell, Mavzar Evloev, Josh Emmett, Korean Zombie, he got pieced up every single time. And I just don't think Dan Ige is top 15 material. There are other fighters outside the rankings that probably deserve to be in the rankings more than him. I like Dan Ige as a fighter, but listen, man, it's the new age of MMA. We need more well-rounded guys. And Dan Ige is just a stand-and-bang guy, and he typically gasses out, but he has zero ground game, no submissions, and he just looks to keep it on the feet and literally fights the same every single time. We don't see any fight evolution out of Dan Ige. I haven't seen him improve at all in his 3-4 years in the UFC. So no disrespect to Dan Ige. He saved a couple events recently, and respect to him. He's a warrior, but I do not think he's top 15 material. Let's move on to the next fighter on this list, Rafael dos Anjos. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but he's actually ranked number 15 at lightweight. I have no idea how. RDA does not have a win at lightweight since March of 2022. Fair enough, he beat Moicano, who's on a resurgence right now, but he doesn't even fight at lightweight, and he's 1-4 in his last 5. Why is RDA ranked at lightweight? I think this is self-explanatory. He just tore his ACL. He's 40 years old. He's going to be probably 41, 42 before he can even return, and he's not going to fight at lightweight. So get him out the rankings. RDA, former champion at lightweight, respect to him. But at the end of the day, the rankings are for the current best fighters in the world, and RDA in his current state is not a top 15 fighter at lightweight, nor does he fight at lightweight. So RDA, you're cooked. Get him out of here. Respect, though, because RDA had one of the most impressive lineups of fighters, strength of schedule we've ever seen. Let's move on to the next fighter on this list, Paulo Costa. Now, this is one of the worst cases. How on earth is Paulo Costa ranked at middleweight? Just for the simple fact maybe that there's nobody else. Paulo Costa is number 11 at middleweight. He's 1-4 in his last 5. He has 1 win in the last 5 years against Luke Rockhold, who's retired. 0 wins over any active fighter in the UFC. He doesn't have a single win over any active fighter in the UFC. You heard that right. And he pulls out of every fight. So I don't know why the UFC keep doing Paulo Costa favors. Listen, I know he's funny on Twitter, secret juice, haha, he has some funny memes, but at the end of the day, the dude pulls out of fights and he can't beat anybody. Drop the decision to Sean Strickland, drop the decision to Whitaker, drop the decision to Marvin Vettori of all people. Vettori is one of the most mid fighters at middleweight, hot middleweight mid. got destroyed by Israel Adesanya. How is this guy ranked? He should have dropped out of the top 15 a long time ago. I think the UFC keeps him in the top 15 because he's like if you can beat a Paulo Costa, you can get into the top 10, this kind of thing. And I guess he's like the gatekeeper, but is he really a gatekeeper? If you can't, typically a good gatekeeper is like a Derek Brunson. They actually get a couple wins and then they get shut down, you know? Paulo Costa, he needs to get a win over anybody in the UFC that's active, and maybe we can talk about him being ranked eventually, but I think he needs to get a couple wins to be ranked. This dude is just rank squatting out here at middleweight when there's other guys that deserve it more than him. There's a couple guys in this video at middleweight that don't deserve to be in the rankings, and I'm going to talk about it. Let's move on to the next one. We're talking Sher Bullet. Listen, I know he has one eye and he's cool and he just got knockout of the year contender against Armin Petrosian, but let's be real, dude. How is he in the rankings? Number 14? Who is he beat? Mikhail Alexeychuk? Armin Petrosian? That gets you in the rankings? Bruno Silva? Antonio Tricoli? Why are we giving fighters rankings whenever they beat no one ranked? It doesn't make sense. That's the whole point of the rankings. You beat someone in the rankings, you get into the rankings. It doesn't matter if you go 50-0 outside the rankings. You need to beat a ranked opponent to become ranked. And I'm sorry, Sher Bullet hasn't done that. And I think the UFC is biased towards Russian fighters because they did the same thing to to Umar. Whenever Umar beat Raoni Barcelos, he was somehow ranked number 10 at bantamweight. How does that work? Raoni Barcelos get you a number 10 ranking? And yeah, that's crazy. So that was before he fought Sandhagen, by the way. But Sher Bullet, respect. He's an amazing striker, a good fighter. He's 4-0 in the UFC. He's very active. But I just think that in order to be in the rankings, you need to be beating guys in the rankings. We shouldn't just be giving guys ranking spots because they're on a win streak. That's not good enough. And there's another guy in this video that's a perfect example of that. Like, we need to be giving guys ranking spots that are beating other guys in the rankings. That's how it's supposed to work. You're not just like, oh, this guy's on a win streak, so we'll throw him in the rankings. That's not how it works. Beat a guy in the rankings, you take his spot in the rankings. Okay? Okay. Let's move on to the next fighter who doesn't deserve to be in the rankings, in my opinion. Tai Tuivasa. Now, it's so obvious, dude. I know heavyweight is short on talent. I know it's the worst division when it comes to skill. Tai Tuivasa's on a 5-fight losing streak. 4 times he was finished. He doesn't have a win in nearly 3 years, since February of 2022 when he KO'd Derek Lewis. And he's still number 12 at heavyweight. That just goes to show you how shallow the heavyweight division is. It falls off a cliff after like number 7 or 8. Like, the strength of fighters in this division is just terrible. Nearly 3 years without a win. I'd say Tai Tuivasa is one of the least skilled fighters on the roster. And listen, I love Tai Tuivasa. He's a fan favorite. Whenever he gets a knockout, he does a shoey. It's awesome. But at the end of the day, we've got to keep it real, guys. And Tai Tuivasa, he just isn't good. Like, he literally has negative ground game. And he's a stand and bang kind of fighter. And even on the feet, he's getting pieced up. Sergey Pavlovich knocked him out. Cyril Gane beat him up pretty bad and knocked him out outside of getting dropped one time. He got submitted by Volkov. He got submitted by Tybura, of all people. And then he just lost the decision to Rosenstruck, where he got beat up pretty bad. And one of the judges actually gave him that fight, which was crazy. But yeah, guys, it's no secret. Tuivasa does not deserve to be in the rankings. I don't think that's a hot take. But heavyweight's so freaking, so low on talent that they have no choice but to put nearly every heavyweight on the roster and in the rankings because they don't have that many heavyweights. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if freaking Austin Lane gets ranked for beating Rapelis to Spain. Like, Jesus, dude. But let's move on to the next fighter on this list that does not deserve to be ranked. We're talking Michel Pereira. Now, this is an interesting one because he was on an 8-fight win streak before he fought Anthony Hernandez, right? But I don't care if you go on a 50 win streak. The rankings are about the best fighters who are beating ranked guys. Look at this list of fighters he beat. Chaos Williams, not ranked. Nico Price, not ranked. Andre Fialho, not ranked. Santiago Ponzinibbio, I don't think he was ranked. Andre Petrosky, not ranked. Mikhail Alexeychuk, not ranked. Ihor Peteria, terrible and not ranked. And he was ranked at middleweight before he fought Anthony Hernandez. And look at that. The first time he fought a ranked fighter in Anthony Hernandez, he was a one-pump chump. He gassed out in the first round and got his ass beat all the way into the 5th round where he got finished by a TKO. And I'm sorry, but I know he was on an 8-fight win streak, but what did Michel Pereira do to deserve to be in the rankings? A win streak is not enough. You need to beat somebody in the rankings. I can't stress that enough. I don't see why the UFC is putting people in the rankings, putting fighters in the rankings that aren't beating ranked fighters. It just doesn't make sense. Like, and why even have rankings at that point? Like, oh yeah, we slide this guy to number 14 because he beat Joe Blow at number 19 and 20. Like, no, dude. Let's put fighters in the rankings who are winning fights in the rankings. You get it. I keep saying it, but geez, it's so annoying. Let's move on to the next fighter on this list that should not be in the rankings. We're talking Matt Schnell. Matt Schnell might have the worst chin in UFC history. Dude is legit getting one-punch KO'd at flyweight. That's never been seen. Like, even Cody Garbrandt didn't get one-punch KO'd at flyweight. Go figure. But, dude, Matt Schnell, probably the worst flyweight on the entire roster. I don't know how this guy's ranked. I know he was decent at one point, but look at his last five fights. He's been finished in all four of his losses, and only has one win by triangle choke in 2022. Got submitted by Royval, KO'd by Mateus Nicolau, KO'd by Steve Erceg, and then he just got submitted by Cody Durden. How is Matt Schnell ranked? I mean, what does it take to get unranked at flyweight? Honestly, guys, I'm thinking about starting up a UFC career. Maybe I could become ranked at flyweight, because if Matt Schnell can do it, I'm sure I can. No, I'm joking, guys, but seriously, we need to get the best fighters in the world in the rankings. That's what the UFC is best company in the world. We don't need fighters like Matt Schnell in the rankings. And yeah, I think he should be bumped out. I'm sure there's another prospect or another guy at flyweight that could easily take a spot at 15. He does not need to be in the rankings. That's my take. Let's move on to the next fighter. We're looking at Jaylen Turner. This is an interesting one. Jaylen Turner does not have any wins over any ranked fighter. And that's a thing over a lot of these fighters in the rankings. They don't have a win over any ranked fighter, and that's my issue. Like, if you're in the rankings, you should have a win over ranked fighters. You know what I'm saying? He's 1-3 in his last 4. He blew his fight against Renato Moicano. I mean, he had that fight won. He tried to be cool and get a walk-off KO. Ended up getting TKO'd in the second round. Fair enough, he beat Bobby Green, but I don't think Bobby Green was ranked whenever he beat him. He might have been, but lost to Dan Hooker and Gamrot. Fair enough by split decision, but he still lost those fights. On paper, he has no wins over anybody ranked, and he's lost. And I think this guy's been a little overrated, and he's shown that he has low fight IQ. I mean, he's 6'3", fighting at lightweight. So first of all, he's a weight bully. He should be fighting at welterweight. 6'3" at lightweight is insane. This dude cuts an insane amount of weight. And yeah, I don't think he deserves to be ranked at lightweight. Is it just me, or the lightweight, like 11 through 15, are kind of weak? Is that just me? Seems like the lightweight rankings are falling off. That's why in my UFC divisions video, I couldn't have lightweight in the number 1 division. I just feel like the top half of lightweight is a little weak these days. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, guys. I don't know. But Jaylen Turner, I think he needs to get the boot out of the rankings. He needs to get a win. He's 1-3 in his last 4. No wins over any current ranked fighter. So, yeah, buddy, Jaylen Turner, get out of there. The Tarantula needs to get a win. Let's move on to the last fighter on this list. We got Benoit Saint-Denis. Now, this is one of the worst cases of it. Benoit Saint-Denis, I don't know if the UFC is biased towards him or why they're doing him favors, but, guys, if you look at the rankings, he was number 12 after beating Matt Frevola, right? Then he lost against Poirier and Moicano. And what happens? He stays at number 12. He does not move positions. He's still number 12 at lightweight. Why aren't we moving fighters down? His best win is Matt Frevola. And Matt Frevola just got KO'd again. I forgot by who, but he got brutally KO'd by a knee. So a win over Matt Frevola isn't aging the best. And who hasn't beat Thiago Moises at this point? Listen, I know he was on a 5-fight finish streak, and he was the next big thing. Everybody was saying, all the YouTube creators were saying he was going to go and destroy everybody and get to the belt. And he was always just a hype job. And listen, Benoit Saint-Denis, in that fight against Moicano, he looked absolutely terrible. That did not look like a top 15 lightweight in the UFC to me. He looked embarrassingly bad. And his, 0 wins over any ranked fighter. Again, that's a point I keep pointing out, because in my opinion, if you're going to be in the rankings, you need to be beating ranked fighters. And he's never beat a ranked fighter, but yet he slid into number 12 and he's just kind of hovering there. Like, what are we doing, UFC? Benoit Saint-Denis should be outside the rankings. He needs to defend his ranking spot or get out. He just lost again against Moicano. Fair enough, he's fighting good competition in Poirier and Moicano, but what did he do to slip into the rankings in the first place? That's my point. Either way, BSD, he needs to get a win. I hope he looks better in his next outing. It was kind of sad to watch him get destroyed by Moicano. I don't mind BSD. I just think he was rushed up too quick, and the UFC thought that he was going to be the next big thing. And like it shows, dude, these guys have been training their whole life. BSD's been training MMA for 6 years. You just can't do in 6 years what these guys have done their whole life. And that's what I think is shown once he gets to the top of the UFC lightweight division. It gets harder. And these guys have been at it for like literally half their life, like a Poirier, like a Moicano. So, yeah. This is my opinion on guys that should not be in the rankings, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Am I casual? Am I coping? Should these guys be in the rankings? Am I disrespecting them? Let me know who else you think should be in the rankings. I know you can make an argument that like half the heavyweight division shouldn't be ranked, but they have no choice because there's literally nobody else. But yeah, this is my breakdown of the fighters that do not deserve to be in the rankings. Let me know what you think down below, guys. Thank you for watching, and I am out. Peace.